Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our quick publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello everybody, welcome to the latest Anfield Index Under Pressure podcast. My name's Dan Kennett, and to join me tonight to go over the Watford and Benfica wins. Haven't got the full complement tonight. There's no Brundish. He hasn't paid his lucky bill. But hopefully he will be back for the big one on Tuesday for Man City. But I do have our other, far more qualified sports scientist, Dr. Phil Barter. Evening, Phil.
How are we doing? Evening, boys.
Originally it was meant to be yesterday, but you were in cricket training, Phil, and we all forgot about it.
And we all forgot that everyone had said we couldn't do it. So anyway,
did you manage to locate the middle of the bat?
I was just saying to Rhodesy, I was bowling it mainly yesterday, focusing on that. So I got the first team opener out.
That's a no then.
Which is it's fine.
First team opener out, Dan. First team opener, that's a scout.
Mate, I got him out. I mean, I'm happy with that. You know, I'll take that away.
Yeah. And then you just heard him. It's our resident video analyst and data collector, Mr. Daniel Rhodes. Good evening, Rosie.
Evening, Dan. How are you?
I'm all right, mate. I'm all right. It's Friday night. It's 2 wins. It's under pressure. So anyway, let's crack on. It's always a double header this season. It seems every single week is a double header, and this is no exception. So we're going to start with the Watford game. I know it was 6 days ago now, actually, isn't it, Rosie? Yeah. But we are going to spend a little bit of time covering Watford, and we're going to start with those lineups, Barts, because this was the first match after the international break. Players have gone to all 4 corners of the globe, and we were in the early slot. So, what did you think of the team, the lineups, and the actual initial selection?
So, I mean, we made, 6 changes. I know that's a bit of a spurious because, as you say, it was an international break. But I think if you look at where people were and how far they travelled, I think this is probably the best we could have put out. You know, rested Fab played Hendo at 6, played Curtis and Thiago in the midfield. Thiago hadn't travelled, obviously, so it was fresh. And then up front, I think it was Bobby, Jota, and I can't remember. Diaz, was it? Was it that long
No,
ago?
Salah. It was Mo.
Salah. So was it Mo? Yeah. So
yeah.
And then back 4 Gomez at right back, as we know, because Klopp's turned into Fergie, and then Matip, Van Dijk, and Costas. Was it?
The only one thing I don't think Klopp has gone full Ferguson yet.
No,
because
he hasn't.
with Trent and with Keita. So we had to keep up the charade of them being injured. And so they had to miss the first match after the internationals.
They did.
But Trent came on the bench and then Naby started in midweek. So full Fergie would have been missed the internationals and then started.
Yeah, no,
anyway.
I take that. But
Is it easing it in? Easing it in.
Yeah, I mean, and also like what quality? I mean, Gomez, to be fair, comes in out of the cold, not played, and as we'll come on to, I thought he played well. But yeah, it was. You're right. He's not full Fergie, but I think the groundwork had been set a while ago, hadn't it? So it meant that we could pull this one. But no, I think so. Yeah, 6 changes from us, all very logical in terms of minutes, and then the minutes managed in terms of the changes were fairly straightforward. I think Curtis was the only worry, wasn't he? Who came off, we thought, with a little bit of a knock, but that turned out to be nothing. So for us, I thought it was a gain. Klopp going with his sports science evolved rotation and carrying it forward, which is good, you know.
Yep. So do we think, Rosie, at this point, just on Trent, right? Trent knows he's not going to play for Southgate. He's probably got little or no motivation to go to England because we get end up endless England debates, and at this point, Southgate can't be asked with the fuss and bother going to war over call him into the squad. So is it just have we reached a sensible situation where the player's happy to not play and the managers just can avoid it? So it's win-win-win for everybody.
I think in this particular window, definitely. But I think that Trent would like to play in World Cups and Euros.
I was going to say,
I think he would be disappointed if he doesn't make the squad, considering he's the best player.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this one suited all parties. I think in future international breaks, we might see more of it. It gives Southgate a chance to play his more defensive system, as he would call it. But yeah, I genuinely think Trent would like to play the World Cup for a start, so I think he would like to get in there. And I think he proved immediately after coming back and playing against Benfica that there's no one close to him. So we'll come on to that.
But these were friendlies as well, weren't they, Darth? They were friendlies.
Yeah.
I think if they were actual meaningful games, it might have been a bit more of a harder call. But they're both friendlies. He's not going to play. I think. Yeah, I just don't think he was bothered. But if they were actual meaningful games, then maybe that's a different question, isn't it?
England haven't had a meaningful qualifier for them.
No, but you know what I mean. It's not a friendly. Is a very different ball game, isn't it?
Yeah.
Than an actual World Cup qualifier or a Euro qualifier. But yeah, we shall see if he goes as well to the tournament.
Okay. So you did the Watford scouting report, Barts. How did Watford's lineup compare to what you were predicting in the scouting report and Watford's approach? How close was it all?
Pretty much spot on. 4-1-4-1. They decided to go with, which seems to be a bit of a Roy favoured, if you know what I mean. Recently, he did start off trying to play 4-3-3, but he switched it round. Sarr came in on the right hand side.
4-1-4-1 is kind of a 4-3-3.
Yeah, isn't it? I think it's just off the ball more where it changes, and I think that's probably what's important to Roy. He was trying to soak up certain areas. I think I identified in the match report that they were susceptible to aerial duels in the middle of the 6-yard box, and we could nick the balls off in the wide areas, particularly their right back area, who likes to dribble out. Therefore, it was susceptible for us to be pressing that way. And now crossing from the right hand side, so either with Trent or as Gomez turned out to play there, they didn't seem to put a lot of pressure on. It was lower than league average pressure area for them. All in all, meant that when we got into that area, we crossed it from that area, and Jota beat the man in the middle and scored with a header. So I think that's a fairly decent summary for the way they played. I said they would press just around the Ds, if you get what I mean, and they kind of did and didn't. They sat up a bit, as we predicted, low mid block. But yeah, I think largely, I think what I wrote was panned out pretty well. The long ball rate increased for our game, so again, fairly Roy tactics into the channels as we saw. They tried to counter when they could.
Yeah. So just for those who miss it, who miss what we're talking about here, Bart's for every league match posts a scouting report in the Under Pressure chat in a PDF. And then so basically it's from Scout, isn't it, Bart's? But you make observations and annotations on it, don't you?
Yeah.
And it's excellent. I heartily recommend it for those who are interested in the minutiae of our opponents. So you mentioned aerial duels. It's one of those things that's, a few years back, Watford were quite a dominant team in the air, but like you said, they seem to be, it was 21-13 in the match overall. But one thing I want to do throughout the show is just flick back to themes that we've had throughout the season and just topics that we've mentioned continually right from pre-season, some of them, and one of them we had at the very start of the year was Van Dijk and aerial duels, and we said, look, we need to keep an eye on this because what did it get down to, like mid 64-65%?
No, I think it was lower than that. I think there was a game it was 50s.
Oh yeah, just one game, but at a point his cumulative stuff was low as well.
Yeah, true. But yeah, you're right. He wasn't in it. He was well below his normal averages. Like 20% below his normal averages.
So basically, I went after this game as well. I went back to check what the league situation was just for aerial duels here.
Mm-hmm.
And all players with more than this is Opta, by the way, not FBref. There are differences between the two, which doesn't help anybody, to be honest. But I went back and checked the Opta data, and lo and behold, Virgil is now has the highest aerial duel win rate of any player in the Premier League with more than 100 aerials. So it's almost like from a low starting point, from a poor starting point.
I couldn't believe that when you showed us.
Yeah.
And it would have been interesting to try. I mean, we can't do it now, but we all kind of assumed there was a point at which Virgil would turn back to being Virgil.
Somewhere about mid-end of November, was it?
Getting into the Christmas period, and certainly when we broke into the new year, he was back to being the dominant force that he was. He wasn't struggling with the turning over the shoulder and sprinting. His aerial rate went up. So I was shocked that he got up to that high. But that's back to Virgil being Virgil, isn't it?
So he must have been, since that wobbly start, he must have been at 80% plus win rate, mate, mustn't he, Rhodesy, to get up to 76?
Absolutely, especially with over 100. So he's got the key thing here. He's got the volume. There might be players higher that people might have noticed, but they won't have anywhere near the volume. And being in our team and having over 100 aerial duels, and
that's the mad thing, isn't it? Like I just realised I put the wrong shot in, which in the live show chat, which didn't have the total in, so we just delete the other one.
So 135. Well, what's more illustrative is that both the centre backs have had very similar.
Yeah, you said Matip had done well this season as well, didn't you?
It's just amazing how we have so much of the ball, yet our two centre backs have so many aerial duels. But it just shows you about the way we defend as a team, doesn't it?
We
confront it head on, don't we? We confront the opposition threat, the direct threat, head on with our two best players.
Opposition analysts constantly must say, because they've seen it in the past, we need to attack them in the air, we need to attack them down the middle, they're going to be playing high, we need to go over the top. And our centre-backs just keep cutting it out, whether it's on the ground or in the air.
Whether you've got Fab in front as well.
Yeah.
Fab's win rate can't be that bad. I mean, can't be that far off that, to be fair. I know
it'll probably be low. It'll probably high 50s, I would have thought.
Yeah, but I bet you he stands well above in his crowd, his cohort of DMs. I mean, So I think you're right. I think it also explains, how we've sort of sometimes gone, oh, he's played Matip largely in the league games, yeah. Yes. And I think it kind of stands up to that, saying, right, this year, this is what we're about. They are defending the aerial pieces. Matip's fit. We've fixed him, and he can bring the ball forward. But fundamentally, those two in there, we're winning 80%, 85% of the aerial duels in the game. Well, that's a massive caveat to winning the Premiership game, isn't it?
Yeah, they're winning 10 between them a match at 73% between them. Because Matip's got a 70% win rate, which is fifth best in the league.
Yeah.
So the only other partnership in the league who can rival them is Tarkowski and me. They're the only ones, really. I mean, Maguire's nowhere to be seen this season. Lewis Dunk, who's usually up there, he's not in there either. So it is a bit. But Ben Mee's down at 62%, which is low by his standards. But yeah, because he's usually a 70% plus. But yeah, I just thought it was one of those things that we thought that I think
keep an eye on.
Yeah, we wanted to keep an eye on at the start, but I think we can just say he's back.
I think he is very much.
Fab is at 66%. 37 from 56 this season.
That's pretty good.
He's above Sancho, or he's in Sancho.
Yeah, and he'd be above Laporte as well.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah, not bad.
Good triangle.
Yeah. So one of the other things that was a big story in this game was offsides again and VAR again. And yeah, just wanted to just touch on because it was at 0-0 where the Watford big chance came in, and then the other one was at 1-0. The two Watford big chances which stand in the data. So we've discussed this in the chat, and so what do we think? Right, the Kuka chance, which is down the left hand side of the box, shot from about 15 yards out under no defensive pressure. Do we think that was on or off?
I think that was offside.
Rhodesy?
I haven't seen the conclusive evidence. I thought it looks close to me. I thought it was off watching live, but watching the replays, the angle does. I'm just guessing.
It's close though, isn't it? I think if I had to put money on it, I would have said if it had gone to VAR, if he'd scored and it had gone to VAR, I think it would have been marginally off.
Yep.
Yeah. I think the line, the lines thing would have.
The margin of error is
Yeah.
Is it 4 inches, 10 centimeters? Isn't it?
Like yeah. I think that would have come into play.
And then the other one was after half time. This was the Pedro miss where he put it wide of the post. There was kind of a lofted pass, wasn't there, from the halfway line down the inside left channel. Yeah.
I think that's on. I think the Lions would have made that onside.
It was harder to get a definitive angle on that one.
It was. I'm trying to get one in here at the moment, but I think Matip plays him on.
Yeah, the angles I've seen, it looks.
There you go. I've just chucked it on there. Which is you gave me a better one, Dan, because you had it with the ball actually in touch with the Watford player, where that's a frame in between a proper frame. And I think when the ball's in touch with the player, he's even more onside because Matip's actually higher up than that. Yeah, there you go. That to me, I just think with the margin of error, he's onside.
They'll draw it from the armpit, won't they?
Yeah.
No, he's on his left knee there, won't they?
Yeah, but Matip's it'll be Matip's armpit, won't it? Whereas it'll be Sarr's left knee.
Yeah.
I think that's too close. I think that would have been onside.
You think that might have been onside within the margin of error?
Yeah.
Okay. So
I don't think you could have got the line because the line's got to not be touching, isn't it, for it to be offside? Yeah, I think the lines would have been touching there.
Yeah. Okay. So both the big chances stand in the data, Rhodesy. So what did that make the match summary look like for Watford?
Yeah, well, it possibly, arguably, one of our worst at Anfield this season, but it's got kind of a two-tone tint to it, if you accept that phrase. We ended up with double the non-penalty XG, which is good. We ended up with 4 times the amount of shots, 20-5. That's excellent. But I think the two key stats to me are shots on target. We only had 3 to their 2, and the big chances we had 2 each. Now I think one of them was offside. We don't know. But the critical factor in this game, and it contrasts us nicely to the Benfica game, is we converted our 2 big chances and they didn't convert any of theirs. And it was basically the only chances they had. So it does show that we dominated the game in terms of possession, touches in the box, 27-6. No errors, 11 shots in the box to 4. I think a lot of people, possibly correctly, mainly at half-time, I thought, but after the game as well, we're saying we made some bad decisions outside the box. We shot when we shouldn't have. We had quite a few shots where other decisions have been made this season where we bring players into play. But yeah, if you can play that stop-start, obviously we don't include the penalty, but if you do, it looks more healthy on the XG. It's 2.3 to 0.7.
That's a deserved win territory.
It's definitely
in terms of the chance. When you consider that almost certainly one of the chances would have been given offside in the data as well, that takes them down to about half an XG, really, doesn't it? To be honest, right, here's a question for you. I don't think the Kuka chance was even that good a chance. I think the Jota chance, which is forced to say
0.14, isn't it?
Jota's, was actually a better chance than the Kuka one because he was twice as close. And he does have clear line of sight to the keeper. And I know the defender's steaming in, but at the point of contact, Jota could slot it near post, couldn't he, under no pressure, past the keeper. But he tries to blam it, doesn't he?
Yeah. I agree there.
I said at the time I thought Jota should have scored or at least pulled it across. I think it's 2 players going in.
Yeah. And he could either squared it. Or he could have just literally passed it inside the near post as he was looking because there was a.
That's the same as what Rhodesy said though. There was some decision making again in this game in the final third, which we were. I don't know whether it's selfish or not, or fatigue and not making the right call. But if we just made a slightly different decision, we'd have got an easy, like that Jota one. That's 2-0 at half time with a slightly different decision. And it's a bit. It's not a concern, but there was a few instances in the Benfica game, even a few little decisions in the final third, make them a little bit better, and we're well away. Do you know what I mean? I know it's hard to say we're still winning games, but
yeah, I'm sure about that in the Benfica game. I thought the final third decisions were pretty good. Then it was the finishing.
Yeah, the type of finish maybe as well. You know?
Okay, maybe, yeah. Maybe.
There were some weird shot choices in this match, wasn't there? Which is not like us, really.
No, we normally make the right call at the right time. Maybe it's the Watford. I think it's the early start. They'll all come back. I mean, Jota had played. Did he play twice for Portugal?
Yeah, he scored.
Yeah, he scored. So I'm just saying, there's a accumulation of reasons why he may have not been in the right frame of mind, and he's still coming back from the injury. I think he's not quite the same player he was pre-injury at Inter. So yeah, but no, I think you're right. I personally think, Darth, the Jota chance was better than theirs, and theirs was given a big chance and ours wasn't. So yeah.
Yeah.
If we go on the meters, if we go on the longest shots taken, Dan, Curtis had one from 27 yards. Is it on Football Ref or is it meters?
Yeah,
either one.
Meters.
If it's 27 meters, it's worse. Jota had one from 28 meters. Robbo had one from 25. Mo had one from 24. Curtis had one from 28. Jota had one from 29. They're not good decisions, lads.
Nah, no. That's poor. That's
Did
really
you see
poor.
Did you see the Chelsea goal, Rudiger?
Yeah.
They said that something like that. That's the furthest out a Chelsea player was scored from in something like 11 years.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, they were saying it on the commentary, and that's kind of how rare that kind of 1% chance is. Flying in off the post and stuff like that. I mean, it was a hell of a strike, but just on the pressing, it was the story here again was like. We talk about the decision making. One of the things you can see on the dashboard is there are counter attacks. So we had 7 presses leading to counter attack situations, but from that we only actually generated 1 shot, which is quite low, 1 out of 7. And you'll see it again in the Benfica. It was actually even worse there as well. So but there was it was a really heavy bias down the Watford left, and that was because of their playmaker, wasn't it? Barts.
Yeah, I can't remember his name. I can't remember his name. Sorry, it's gone from me.
Well, but they're down that side as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, they're also that fullback. Hernandez, that's it. And their fullback dribbles out as well down the left hand side. So yeah. Whereas Sar's more a runner.
Yeah, all the pressing. And Kuku was the top target for the pressing as well. I'm just trying to find out the exact number here because I can't show one on my image. 19 for him, and for Menia, the left back, he was 11 as well. Hernandez with 9. But it was pressing wasn't really the story in this match. We don't need to go too much into it. I just put the heat map in for reference there. So Bobby was the top presser for us in the match. StatsBomb tweeted after the match that he had the most high pressure, the presses from regains in the Premier League for this week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they're starting to get more. I think they're trying to get more active again on match day. I think StatsBomb are doing stuff now. They're trying to get more people in kind of interactive way on match days. But in our data, Bobby had 33 presses. Next highest in the team was 17. So that's a big difference there from what Bobby did. And he had 12 possession wins from pressing, according to us. Gags collected this one, 3 direct, and 9 led to turnovers. So 12 is a lot. Jota, though, did have 14 the week before against in our last match against Arsenal. So, but yeah, definitely an above average number of wins there. So there is some close alignment there with what StatsBomb tweeted out as well.
That's good. I mean, they're going live, aren't they? They're doing StatsBomb live now. So
yeah, is that available publicly or?
I think you can sub it. I don't know. I haven't looked how much it is. I just saw the promo for it.
Yeah.
So I can imagine it won't be cheap.
Yeah. Right. Just to wrap up on offsides, again, some of the theme we've been talking about this season. Liverpool have the most provoked offsides in Europe in the top 5 leagues with 124, ahead of Sassuolo was the second team in Serie A. They got 110, Villarreal 103, and then the next most in the Premier League is Man City with 76. So it's just the way we play. Again, we always say this: no one else plays like us. And it's the combination of Virgil and Matip and the aerial duels and the high line and the ability to catch the opposition offside.
But did you see, Darth, did you see the graphic that Si put in the chat during the week that actually City play further away from their goal than we do?
That's the average position of the offside. That was the average distance for the offside that was what was caught.
Gotcha. It just maybe a bit like Si made me laugh. It's like we're classed as being this high line team, and yet actually City catch people higher up the pitch, 29 metres. I think they're on 27.
Yeah, but you have to, that's what one thing I don't understand about that is that Spurs absolutely destroyed City with the high line. But you know, like you said, it's only a narrative for one of the teams. I just don't understand it.
I don't get it either. It's like we have a perfect for us. It's a perfect tactic. That's the start. Yeah, it works really well for us. It enables us to get the foundation we can attack in the way we attack, and yet it sends a negative. Whereas the other sides don't play it as well, and yet they're not pulled up on it. It's a strange old narrative in the media at the moment.
So that's the
lack of context parts.
Yeah. So that's what you're talking about there. The average distance of the City offside when they actually catch the opponent offside is 29.3 metres, and ours is 28.7.
Yep.
Tell you what, man, it makes me want to watch Sassuolo a bit more because that's a lot of offsides for them.
Sassuolo?
Yeah, if they're second in Europe, that piques an interest in what they're doing.
Yeah. And do you know who's third? Villarreal.
There you go.
Really? That's interesting.
It's just interesting, isn't it? They must be using a high line in Italy, to generate that many because you can't do it with a low block. It's impossible.
Yeah, well, they're mid-table in them. They're a tiny team, Sassuolo, a tiny club, and
Burnley got 41. Yeah. That just shows you some context.
I think Sassuolo would be about the size of Burnley if we are talking about how big a geographical place it is. But they're mid-table in Serie A.
Yeah, also, that thing also made me laugh with Everton, which is always a giggle laughing at the Ev, but 18.7 metres from their goal is their average offside distance.
And they've only caught the opposition offside 27 times all season.
Which is not a surprise, really. You know what I mean?
Now, that might be that they try to play offside a lot and they constantly fail.
It's just, I mean, that can't be that far off the 18-yard box. Really? Yeah. That's just shocking. It really is. But anyway. That's interesting about Villarreal. That might be something to keep an eye on. Going forward in Europe.
Especially if we end up playing them.
Yeah, because if they're playing a high line against us, okay, interesting. Let's see how they do in second leg.
They were very aggressive against Bayern, I have to say.
Oh, they were. They should have probably won the game, to be fair. More than that. 1-0. But yeah.
So we will come back to that if we end up playing them. Yeah.
Yep.
In the next rounds. Right. So we have to talk about our goal and our goal scorer. But before we focus on Jota, do you want to talk about Joe Gomez briefly, chaps? Rhodesy, how did you think he did in this match?
Oh, I think we analysing these two from very different angles because I thought it was a specific Hodgson tactic to let Gomez have time on the ball, and with time on the ball. Most footballers are quality ball strikers with time on the ball. They can pick out a pass. They can pick out a man. It's just that usually when Trent gets it, he's got two players around him or something, or he's doing it first time. But they gave Gomez time on the ball, and he put in 2 or 3 absolutely Trent-like crosses. One for the goal, one for a missed header, one for an offside that we got a corner from. Yeah, it was. I don't know if anyone's seen it, but there's a great video. I think it was about 2 years ago of Trent and Gomez doing free kick drills.
Yeah.
And Gomez beat him.
Yeah.
So definitely, and Trent was not happy. But yeah, they can both strike a ball really well. It's just that one does it in very different context to another. But I think Hodgson allowed. If you look at Watford's setup. Defensively on ball, I think it's 2 out of the 3 Gomez balls into the box. There's no one near him.
Yeah,
They wanted him to do it.
It just, I thought it was not arrogance is the wrong word, maybe. I can't believe he forgot how good Gomez is, but maybe he did. He hasn't played for a while.
Definitely that.
But Gomez is a quality footballer, and as Rhodesy said, like you give any footballer a time on the ball, but you give someone of Gomez's ability, which I still think he's one of the best centre halves in England, and passing the ball, he's going to put it in an area exactly where he needs to put it, and he did, and we scored. He did it time. I mean, the ball in the second half, just after whips it across, and anyone gets a touch on it, that's in for 2-0. It's just a phenomenal ball that even Trent would have been happy with. But defensively as well, he's very solid. When Robbo was up attacking, he was in, like they cover on the opposite corners. But whereas before it's Trent, a fullback covering back, we had a centre-half basically. He turned in centre-half mode and defended like a centre-half. And it was good to see him play football again, really was. I love Joe Gomez.
Do you think it's just a shame for Joe that he's probably our fourth best defending centre back?
Yeah, definitely.
He's not. I mean, it's all relative though, because he's not a bad centre back at all.
He's a brilliant centre back.
He's just our fourth best one. That's all.
He should be playing for England. I'm not both flying smoke up his backside. He is one of England's best centre halves. That's how good he is.
It's ideal. What the system that Southgate plays with the back three is ideal for him as that right side centre back as well.
Because he can play full back and he can even play in the middle of a three if you wanted him to, because he can bring it out.
The second most minutes at centre back when we won the league.
Yeah, he's a very, very good centre half. He's just unfortunate that this season we've brought him back in, obviously because of the injury. Matip's established himself as being first choice in the league for reasons we've just discussed, the aerial win rates, and then Conte's come in and settled like an absolute dream. It's unfortunate for Joe, but I mean it's not a bad thing. If he wants to hang around, it ain't a bad thought to have, is it?
Yeah,
just the injuries. Just the
injuries.
So we should touch on this.
It's quality.
We should touch on this with your sports science hat on as well, because
he
did have a horrible, horrible injury with the dislocated patella tendon.
He ruptured it. He ruptured his patella tendon. Yeah,
that's actually more serious than an ACL, isn't it?
Yeah, because it's a very short tendon. It's very hard to get a growth to go to work there.
How do you see what's the normal prognosis for full recovery?
It's the same because it's probably it's longer than an ACL. I think if I remember correctly, he's past that point now. If you like, you can see that as well. He's a lot more confident in his body. When he was, the beginning of the season when he played centre half a couple of times, I think away at Norwich in the League Cup, he didn't. He just looked a bit all to see, and I think he was really struggling. But we looked after him, got him through. I think he's now past the point where it's settled. It's healed, if you like. It's always going to be 2 years to get a proper heal on it with any sort of ligament repair of that nature in the knee area. But he's certainly past the point of immediate problems, if you like. And he's got more. You can see he's more confident in his body, and he's training better. And the club must be happy with him because they're putting him playing fullback, which is probably more likely to get a contact injury on that knee than he's playing centre half.
Right, now the other player we need to talk about and celebrate is Diogo Jota. 20 goals in all competitions. I mean, this guy, we've been saying it pretty much ever since his first match for Liverpool. What a signing this guy has been. The value we've already got from a £41 million signing. He is just absolutely phenomenal. So I'm just going to reel off some stats before you guys chip in. Right, so 20 goals in this current season. He's had 95 shots, so 21% conversion rate, which is unbelievable. Very, very, very high conversion rate here. Not many players have more than a 15% conversion rate. He's had 40 shots on target, so he scored with 50% of his shots on target, which is excellent. The most impressive thing of all for me is his distribution. So 7 with his left, 7 with his right, and 6 with his head. No penalties in there. Goal every 136 minutes. He scored 14 in the league, 1 in the Champions League, 3 in the League Cup, and 2 in the FA Cup. And his average distance from goal is the best in Europe. It's the closest to goal in Europe, just 10.8 meters from goal for his average for those 20 goals. What a player, Barts.
Phenomenal player. And I'd probably suggest he's not in the best of form at the moment, but he's still scoring. Yeah, and I'm saying that because we've set such high standards with him, off the ball, on the ball. We said he's learning the Bobby playbook and the rest of it. And I would say there's elements of his game as well that's not working that well, but he just seems to be in the right position at the right time to score. And he's absolutely ruthless with a lot of things. Even that chance we discussed just before half time in the Watford game, he's not thinking about crossing it. That would have been probably the better move, should we say? He's thinking, I'm going to score it. I'm going to, so it's I think it's an incredible signing, and it just fits in. It's like Luis Diaz as well. They just fit into the system and what we're trying to do. And as I said, it'd be great if we get back to pre-Inter Jota. That would be really help us with the running.
Yeah.
His aerial ability is something else. I mean, I know the distribution you got there, but you don't normally see the number of aerial goals he's got. It's just for someone so short as well, it's frightening.
Rhodesy, he's third in all of the top 5 leagues for non-penalty XG per 90 minutes with 0.68.
Yeah, he's getting up to top 10 in the world in terms of his position. It's ridiculous to think, considering the amount we paid. What did you mention his non-penalty big chance conversion rate, Dan? Because
I haven't actually. Go on.
It was at 52%, which is
second best in the Premier League this season for converting big chances.
He is the fox in the box in the Premier League, considering his volume compared to the person above him. Not only that, but his metrics match that. 71 shots this season, 62 in the box in the Premier League. It's all about in the box. And not only that, but he also has scored 4 headed goals in the Premier League, and we saw one in this game against Watford. How is he scoring headed goals? It doesn't look... I know there's the Tim Cahill mythology, and there's the players that used
5'10" on...
But he's... Not only is his movement, his technique on his headers. We saw the Benzema masterclass this week in terms of headed technique, but Jota just shows it regularly. But not only that, Dan, I think you must have the stats. He's the most ambidextrous forward in the country.
Left head. Apart from the lad who plays for Barca, Moussa Dembele, in terms of two-footedness, he's 67% of his actions are with his right, 33% are with his left. Although, as we know, Rhodesy, he's 3-footed because of his head.
He doesn't dribble like Mo and Mane,
but he hasn't
got their flair, he hasn't got their pace, he hasn't got their strength.
But, you say that, right? He's
listed a load of things that he has got.
According to FBref, he's 85th percentile for dribbles completed. He's 97th for pressures and 89th for tackles compared to all forwards. He's
direct. He's a lot more direct than the others. Like, he's straight lines, isn't he? When he gets the ball, he just basically makes a beeline for the goal.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that, but I'm just saying that's who he is. He's all about the goals. But and I agree, his aerial abilities. I can't believe some of the headers he wins against the centre halves. It's phenomenal. You expect him to score when the ball goes in the box. Do you know what I mean? Which is a weird thing from a header.
Yeah. He's the best player in our team this year for goals for goals excluding penalties. In terms of the volume and the XG and the non-penalty XG plus the XA. So he's just an absolutely brilliant player, and I think he's fully deserved to get to 20 goals by first week in April. That's some achievement. You think about load of seasons in the 90s and the noughties where the club didn't get a single player to 20 goals in all comps. Michael Owen never got it.
A lot of Golden Boot winners didn't even get to it, did they?
And he's been injured.
He missed a few weeks, didn't he?
Missed a few weeks. I mean, it's an incredible. He is a great player to have. A roster's really American. Sorry, squad.
Don't say that word. So, okay. Anything else on Watford, boys?
No, great pen from Fab.
Oh yeah, lovely pen, really nice pen. Top there.
I'm glad they noticed the rugby tackle in the end. That was nice.
Mate. Can I just say, right? The Athletic had an article on why the Jota pen was given, explaining
Really?
VAR for the Jota. They had a whole article on that. I think, what the fuckity fuck is that about? I mean, it was, we were 1-0 up, but it was 2 minutes to go. I mean, it didn't impact the result.
No, the only thing I'll say on that is, I said in the chat, didn't I? It's one of them that if you started giving every one of those, you penalties a lot of games. I'm not saying it's not the right.
That, though, but I don't often see tackles which are like that in the box.
No, not that bad. But I'm just saying that there was a lot of that goes.
So
that was
so maybe the lesson is you can hold and grapple, but you can't be that egregious.
No, you can't literally take someone to the ground. That's taking it too far. But yeah, no, I think you're right. Yeah.
It's not UFC, is it? Really? Let's be honest. He was listening to the ground UFC style.
For the scrimmage.
Yeah. I mean, Roy at the end I thought that was hilarious when he was like, no one appealed for it. Our players were shocked, and you're like, right, it doesn't make it not a foul though.
No one could see it because it was at the back of the box while they were all looking at the ball, you fool.
Exactly. It reminded me of why Roy's Roy, but hey, never mind. Great pen.
I was more shocked. So it looked to me that Roy had Botox, but I can't confirm or deny that. But he looks to have a lot less wrinkles than last time I saw him. But there you go. Imagine that. Imagine if Roy has had Botox.
No, my estimation of you will go to 0.
Right. Okay. So let's move on to Benfica. Right. But rotation. I was right now. I want to talk about. I got a bit of a thread. I want you to explain. Right. I want you to, because I want to talk about rotation here. Not only the starting lineups, but also subs. Now, could you make it? So we talked about the selection post internationals there. So we had the subs against Watford on the hour.
Yep.
62 and 69 minutes.
62, 69. Yeah.
Then we had the lineups for Benfica, and then we had the triple sub on the hour for Benfica. So why are we making subs on the hour? It looks pre-planned. Is it pre-planned? And if so, why? What's the game plan here?
So we are on the hour are normally pre-planned, and it's to mitigate load over the week. So typically, if we use Thiago and Naby, which in this game is a little bit moot point, but normally they would share 90 over a 2-game period. So one would come off. One would start, and one would come on 60, and the other would go off, and that'd be 13 and 60, and then they do the reverse on the next game. So they would get 90 over that period of time. So you mitigate load for that system. And if you look at the pairings that have been going on, that is largely what we've been trying to do. So Hendo played nearly 90 against Watford. Am I correct in that? Did he play full game? 95, yeah. And he came on for the last 30 in midweek. So his load there.
He played 120.
120. So that's his load. If you look at over the period of time, right on the limit, but that is kind of what he does. He does a 90 and a 30. So at the weekend that he played 90, I was like, he's not starting midweek. If you look at the forward line, we've generally started. Well,
the other player in that midfield is Fabinho.
Yeah, which he's a little bit more robust. I think it's 4 out of 5 he normally plays.
But he had exactly the same pattern as Henderson. Like what you were looking for an example. He came on for the last 25 against Watford and then he played. And then he played the full match against Benfica, right?
Yeah, and he will now play against City. Yeah.
So so both of those players played 120 minutes pretty much across the 2 games.
Across 2 games, yeah.
Right.
And whereas if you look at the rotation at centre half, we normally do that's a game. So we don't change in game for a centre half.
He rarely substitutes a centre half, though, does he?
Exactly, but it's still the number of minutes. If you look at Matip there, he plays 90. He'll come off.
So that's a rotation thing.
That's a rotation thing, game to game, which is why it's a little bit. It's not a risk, but you look at the Chelsea League Cup game. Yeah, Matip played the league game in midweek before and played right up to his limit, and then Konate came on and played the last half an hour, I think it was, or I can't remember the exact time is, but he played a bit of the full 90 and he played extra time, yeah? So that's because Matip had gone up to his load and they were like, right, we need to get him off now, and Konate comes on and clears the rest of the minutes.
So on the forwards, then, against Benfica, Mane and Salah played an hour, and Bobby and Jota played half an hour. And against Watford, and Diaz played the full match.
Mm-hmm.
And against Watford, what was the situation against Watford?
So Watford, Diaz didn't play. Jota didn't play at all. Jota, Bobby, and Mo started. Mo came off for Mane.
And then
Mane
Bobby
played 20.
Bobby
played the whole match.
Yeah.
And then they came on for in Benfica. Yeah. So
So
you look
Bobby
at the
and
management
Jota-
load.
Bobby and Jota played 120 across the two matches between them. So did Mo, 120, because he played 60 minutes twice, pretty much. And then Mane played a bit less.
But then, and so did Diaz. But Diaz is new to the whole load. You know, he's come from a club, but he's not used to playing this high intensity for twice a week. And Mane, I think they've always erred on the side of caution with him as well. So, So that's how the management loads, yeah.
And you think about Trent as well. He didn't play. Did he come on against Watford? No,
he
was
didn't.
On the bench at Watford, and he played 90. So those 5 players we talked about played pretty much 120 minutes each across the 2 matches.
Yep. Yeah, and you'll see that it's not quite predictable because obviously Klopp completely not bemused it, but he chose a midfield against Benfica that none of us would come in. Because Thiago played substantially longer than he didn't come off on the hour, did he? Against Watford.
No, he played the full match. Didn't he?
Played the full match, so that you would have normally assumed then that Naby would have started against Benfica, and Thiago would have come on, and they would have played. Do you know what I mean? That it would have been that. But what Klopp did is he went, "No, I'm playing both of you, and I'll bring on Hendo and I'll bring on others to share the minutes that way." But Naby played the full game against Benfica.
Yeah, is that because Thiago played less on the internationals?
Yeah, I think they. I said you can't really tell, but he's been at the AXA for 2 weeks while everybody else is on internationals. So they've done a lot of things with his load. They could have increased his load from being 90 a week to more like, what did he do? Did he do an hour and a full game? So that's approaching
150,
120. So they could have maybe tried to increase his load to 120.
Okay.
Which, if they do going forward, is absolutely amazing. But let's see what happens against City.
So, that's one angle I wanted to cover there and get this out of the way as well, because there was a lot of discussion amongst the fans and the media about tactical subs. We're saying that these subs against Benfica were 100% strategic, pre-planned for sports science reasons, not tactical.
No, I think the only one that maybe it hasn't happened yet, but Milner is a kill time thing, yeah. That's to take minutes off a midfielder that's still on there. Like Naby came off, so it gave Naby 5-10 minutes at the end to do.
Well, I'm talking about the triple sub on the hour.
Yeah, I know, but later in the game you can still have a sub to which you could impact the minutes. Like Mane had minutes help Moat, So that anything after the hour could be pre-planned. So Milner would have been pre-planned, but if the game started dictated, it might have been a different. If you get what I'm saying. So there would have been so after the hour, there is a set of pre-planning to manage the minutes of the players that are left on there. Yeah. But if game state dictates, they would change that pre-planning.
Yeah.
So Milner wouldn't, if we'd been losing, Milner wouldn't come on. They might have brought someone else on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Rhodesy, match summary.
Yes, this was pretty spectacular compared to the Watford one. 17 shots to 9, so only twice the amount of shots, but that doesn't tell any of the story. 8 shots on target to 3. If only their keeper wasn't in such good form, this could have been 5 or 6, because we had 8.
The magnificently named Odysseus.
Absolutely wonderfully named Odysseus. 8 big chances down. We have had more in a Champions League game. We had 9 against Red Star Belgrade one time, but 2 of those were penalties. We had 7 against Maribor, but in terms of knockout, this just blows everything out of the water. I think our highest in a knockout previous game was 4. It's about as good as it gets. Non-penalty XG was 3.5 to 1. 538 had us at 3.8 as well. It's just huge numbers for such a. When I think we should. The first half is the focus. We had 6 big chances in that. We had 8 shots 8 shots to 1 after 20 odd minutes. I remember doing the pressing, and there wasn't much pressing in the first 20 minutes because we were constantly at them, and they could hardly get the ball off us. The midfield was winning it back immediately. I think like 10 of my first 15 collections were possession wins. It was ridiculous. It was a midfield masterclass, and it's a stats for a knockout game. It's as good as you could ever hope for. As good as you could hope for.
Yeah. 5 presses leading to shots, Rhodesy.
Yeah.
49 possession wins. It's just unbelievable. Yet again, these matches in Europe, Inter, Arsenal, and then recently and domestically, Chelsea in the cup final, massive numbers of possession wins. 1.52 expected goals from pressing, including 4 big chances. So
we have had more shots leading to more presses leading to shots in the past, haven't we, Dan? But I don't think we've had that amount of high quality chance on display.
No, I don't think we have.
Basically, 5 chances from pressing.
So, yes. So we haven't talked about the lineups yet, but there was also a stat doing the round about the lineups, Roti, in the midfield line.
Oh, well, it never happened.
It's the first time that midfield has started a match together.
I know. I think we must have spoken about it 25 times on this podcast, hoping for it. But yeah.
But it's mad that of all the time it hasn't been tried.
Dan, the cohesion between the three in terms of the contrast of the roles that we constantly bang on about, or particularly Phil and Sidley, and it was just honestly, if we could repackage
everything I wanted. Everything I wanted in midfield was in that first 45.
So yeah. How did it go then tactically then, Barts? How did people have been talking about wanting to see it. It's never been tried even one time until now. So did it live up to the hype?
Yes. That's a short answer, but it has happened before in games, isn't it, for periods, but not for a substantial amount. It's not from the start. I think Naby played the right side, didn't he, predominantly, and Thiago the left. But what was brilliant about the pair of them is because they can play both roles. It meant the rotation in doing that was superb. And actually, to be fair to all three of them, can play all 3 roles. So at times, Fab, which I hate seeing the 6 go too high, would break forward a little bit, and either Thiago or Naby would just sit in as a 6, and we'd still have the other one up there as a 2. So the way they rotated that midfield balance, which meant we always were in balance, we always had a right and a left and a 6, was absolutely superb and masterful considering the first time they played. Normally when you see our 6 go forward, if they're not quite as in sync, no one will cover that, or the other. So say the right side drops in, means the left and the right will be there. Do you know what I mean? It's unbalanced in our capacity, and it meant we could keep them in their half under pressure for long periods of time because we had perfect shape across. We had perfect depth. Our passing networks worked well, and there was always someone in the 6 to receive if we needed to, someone to be progressive in the right, someone in to connect from the left. It was just, this is everything our midfield should be on a regular basis, and I'm so hoping we see it on Sunday. I don't think we will, but it just beautiful depth and width when we needed it. You know, target Thiago was out wide left at times. Didn't matter because Naby pulled round and tucked in with Fab. It was just amazing to see those 2 8s operate in the way they did, support the attack when they needed to, but also make sure in defence we were solid. And Fab as well with having the freedom to do what he does. And the passing range as well. You know, Naby's short, sharp stuff with a little progressive running. Thiago switching play out well and then making forced progressive pass. Fab getting on and ticking and keeping it diagonals going. That range of ability to pin an opponent in killed them in the first 45 minutes. They did not have an answer. Yeah, and that is something, if we can do more often, we are going to be an even more of a team.
Yeah, that first half was incredibly dominant, I thought. Benfica had one half chance, didn't they?
They had a corner. as well. But,
they had one where they had one really good opportunity.
Yeah,
Which was the shot.
Yeah. But aside from that, they had nothing. They had nothing in that first 45 minutes.
We could have had 5.
And we could have easily, if others had been slightly on made a slightly better touch of that, we would have been hit by our side.
But in terms of the process, right? If you look at the passing network we put in, the only thing you'd be careful on the passing network is that Naby switches sides.
Yeah, so does Thiago.
So it don't pay too much attention to the position, but if you look at the actual end result, Mo Salah is on the most progressive passing received in the team. So the whole process has served its function, hasn't it, to get Salah and then Diaz the most of the progressive passing into the so you have such a great process and a great base, and then unleash the forwards. And the only difference is that they're not quite Salah's not quite at his peak form, and maybe because I don't if this match had been played in October, he gets a hat trick.
Yeah. I think even a month ago he gets. I mean, you look at your connections between Trent and Mo, which again is an area that is a strong point. Yeah. That the system here allows for our eights to still be progressive and not impede that relationship between the fullback and the forward. Even Robertson and Diaz, the relationship is very good. Yeah. The eights are still functioning and being good. Whereas sometimes when you see other players side eight, they impede the relationship between the fullback and the forward. Yeah. So and not help it. Yeah, you're right. Look at that those two forwards being the furthest forward and receiving the most strong arrows is the amount of passes, and it is phenomenal. It really is. It's a hell of a performance for 45 minutes.
Rhodesy, you collected this match in the pressing. How did you see it? Because the thing that stands out for me on the stats is on the pressing stats is the direct possession wins of the midfield three. They had 17 between them. Keita 6, Thiago 5, and Fabinho 6. That's a lot of direct possession wins from pressing. And then Naby ends up with 2 presses leading to shots as well. So, how did you see it? The dynamic of the three of them and the whole team in terms of the pressing in that first half.
So we've had very different games to this. We had the Inter Milan match away where I remember collecting that, and we were just all over them in their penalty box. They were trying to pass it out from inside their penalty box, and we were just constantly, everybody's coming forward with like all the midfield and all the forwards. So it was like a 6-player high press inside the last 30 yards of the pitch. Yeah. In this game, it was completely opposite. We let their centre backs have the ball. Our forwards weren't even trying to engage at times in particularly the first 45. We were waiting because it was like, okay, we know these two can pass it a little bit. Maybe Vertonghen's got a bit of a record. I don't know, but we were just letting the centre backs try. So they'd recycle it between the two fullbacks, but then as soon as they passed it forward, we were absolutely harrowing them in the middle third. The midfielders, in particular,
we were letting them. Giving them the pass into the central area. The track was laid.
What we were doing. Yeah. And it was a completely different track from the one we laid to Inter Milan. So that just shows you the tactical differences.
That was the tactic we used against Bayern when we played Bayern last time in the Champions League. We constantly left the ball into the centre mids open. We're hoping, and Bayern refused to take the bait. They played out and wide and built around the sides. But we constantly left it open. Only 8 presses on Otamendi in the match, Rhodesy, like you said.
There you go. Yeah. I always notice. I tend to notice the centre backs of the opposition sides because we do target them a lot, and either it's because they're poor in possession or their distribution's poor, or their positioning's poor, so they can't pass it or recycle it between each other enough. But I think we gave these two a bit of respect in terms of. Either we don't think you can find your midfielder, or we'll just let you knock it about between your fullbacks. But as soon as they tried to engage in a progressive pass, we were all over them immediately. Yeah, it was fun to see, and the forwards, everyone knew it. It was like there was kind of like Half presses. I don't know if we haven't got a metric for that, but it's where they were kind of going, yeah, I'm kind of going to commit to you here, but I'm not really. Yeah, it was.
The only one who was remotely press resistant is Weigl, and we saw him.
Weigel's excellent, yeah.
Yeah, from his Dortmund days. But the other two centre mids, we absolutely terrorised them, didn't we? Trapped.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
so 5 possession wins and a shot from 18 targets, and Ramos
was the
7 possession wins and a shot from 18 targets. That's pretty tasty for centre mid. So you thought Ramos was a bunny, was he?
That's where all the high value wins came from, because that was the tactic.
Do you think Ramos was a bunny?
I think Ramos and Tarak were bunnies.
Yeah.
Weigl was very good, by the way.
Yeah, he is.
Weigl was very good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Adel Taarabt is one of these ones that, he had one amazing season about 10 years ago where he literally scored he got 30 goals and assists or something like that. And every manager since has been saying, I'm the guy who's going to be able to unlock that Adel Taarabt from 10 years ago. And he's just gone round a tour of European clubs doing not very much ever since. It must be absolutely infuriating to manage.
He's like, is it Ravel Morrison, isn't it? Ravel Morrison, players like that.
Yeah.
They've got talent. They haven't got the other side of it.
So, yeah, I was just seeing if I can get Adel Taarabt's career stats up and stuff like that. But, yeah.
I bet our analysts did.
Say again.
I said I bet our analysts did.
Oh yeah, for sure. But so it was fun. That first half was a lot of fun. I guess the only annoying thing is that it wasn't more than two goals. We could have maybe even killed the tie in that first 45 minutes, a bit like City did in the last round when they played Sporting. But it was our old friend Bart's set plays that was the opener again.
Yeah, but it was a great bit of play to get to. Do you know what I mean? To get to the goal, to get it's sort of to create the opportunity to get the free kick was a great bit of play again. And we got not free kick, sorry, the corner, and then the corner comes in and Ibu outswinger, to the mid zone, and Ibu just decides, I'll actually head this one correctly and puts it straight in the net. It was.
He just gets his marker. He was all over. I don't know who his blocker was meant to be, but he was all over him, wasn't he?
He was all over him. Yeah.
Was it Everton?
I thought it was Everton. I might be wrong, but it looked very similar to Everton. But it was just good delivery from Robbo into the right area, and great. Really good.
What you're talking, head it down. If you get to that position, head it down.
Yeah, and I like the way it just sort of cushioned into the side then as well. It was sort of just nestled in there. It was nice. It was it was really, really good goal.
The good news is though, I've got some stats because Mr. Set Play has been such a key performer for us in this golden run since the start in 2022. So we've played 18 matches in all competitions since the Brentford match, starting with the Brentford match at home in I think it was 12th of January. Mm-hmm. And overall, the results have been 16 wins, 1 draw, and 1 loss. The draw was the Chelsea Cup final because it was 0-0 after extra time. 12 clean sheets in 18 matches, so that's noteworthy in itself. But so we've scored the opening goal 15 times in those 18 matches, right? And of those 15, 8 have been from set plays. So 6 from corners directly. 6 from corner, 1 from a set play, and one from a set piece, and 1 from a penalty. So this is the 4th time we've had a header direct from a set play, which has opened the scoring. So the others were Van Dijk against Palace, Diogo Jota against Cardiff in the FA Cup, Bobby Firmino against Inter with the flicked header from the corner, and Canate against Benfica. 3 other games we've had a kind of a second ball set play, which has been the opening goal. So that was Fabinho against Brentford, when I think did Brentford let it bounce that one?
Yeah,
and Brentford let it bounce and he picks it up off a headed ball off the floor. Jota against Leicester, which was a ball played back in, and Fabinho against Burnley, which was kind of like some kind of It reached him, did not, and he just tucked it away. He bundled it in.
Yeah.
So there's 4 direct headers from set plays, 3 opening goals from second balls at set plays, and then there was a penalty in there as well in one of the matches. So we've only actually had 7 open play opening goals in that period, and 4 of those are from Jota. So it's either Jota in open play or a header direct from a set play. That's how we're taking the lead in our matches. And you know what? I think it's one of our biggest weapons in the head-to-head match against City on the weekend. I just think we've got to.
You think Jota has to play?
Say again.
You think Jota has to play?
No, set plays.
I
think set plays are.
Yeah,
I think set plays are a huge advantage for us in this match because Diaz is apparently might still be
out.
We'll see. But I just think we have a huge threat, and I think we're just better in the box than them. And I think I can see us, scoring an opening goal from a set play again, given the opportunity.
I agree with that.
I agree with that.
Framing it like Jota had to start, and I just thought it was interesting.
No, that was the whole sequence. The whole sequence was about set plays, Rhodesy.
Yeah. I just thought you said 4. Jota scored 4 of the ones from open play.
Oh, he has. Yeah, he has.
And then we would consider that Jota's been a threat from.
Well, to be honest, I wouldn't start him in the City match, but if he comes on and it's 0-0, he could still open the scoring.
Yeah, true. Very true.
Maybe. So yeah, that's our old friend set play. Do we want to talk about some of the other massive chances though? There was I guess the main one to talk about is Salah, isn't it, Rhodesy? Because there's a lot of noise about Mo at the moment. His underlying numbers are fine. He just needs the one to go in. That's it.
Yes.
I was going to say, which one are you talking about?
Along with Jan Molby, my favourite was the one where Van Dijk passes it to him. He spins the guy who's pressing him, and then plays a ball over the top. I think it's just before half time.
Yeah, 44 minutes.
And Mo tries to dink it around him. I think it's a quality finish, to be honest. It's just keeper stays big for long enough. He'll have done well to get it around him with that kind of finish. So yeah, no issues with the finish. It was a good save. I thought that keeper played really well.
Yeah, the goalkeeper was good. I think the one before.
Pass though, can we just keep discussing that pass? From
Which
Trent?
one?
The one from Trent.
Trent was just but the turn as well. Like
that's what I mean. He did it on the turn.
Yeah, he let the ball go through his legs and turned on the spot, and then just goes, "Yeah, I'm going to put it right there." It was just a 60-yard ball with backspin. I mean, the poor bloke went to try and press him, thinking, "Geez, thanks." But no, I think you're right, Ray. Mo's unlucky with that finish. The keeper does well, but the one before, is it on half an hour when Mo doesn't get himself sorted?
The toe poke.
The toe poke, yeah.
He shovels it wide.
Yeah, I think that I would have expected Mo to score that.
Yeah.
That's where I think his touch was. We said that one of the things we were saying when you get tired is neurologically your touch is one of the things that signs that shows up with a footballer, and I think that's an instant the ball comes to him. His touch isn't absolutely spot on for Mo, and he's still sorting his feet out, and then the chance comes, he doesn't quite make the right connection. And I think that for me that was a sign he's a bit tired. He still got the shot off, absolutely fine, but I just think a normal Mo in October, November would have scored that.
Yeah. So he's had about 2 non-penalty XG in the league without scoring since AFCON. Last non-penalty goal he scored was against Norwich.
Couldn't have been better timed.
Yeah.
In fact, everyone else is scoring and he's just racking up all the
But if we include the European games, he's probably the only other one he scored is the Inter match, isn't it? That's the only other non-penalty goal he scored since AFCON.
Yeah.
So he's probably about 4 goals under in all comps in terms of his non-penalty goals since AFCON, which, when you have an elite striker, every elite striker will go through a barren run of form. There was a period where Cristiano Ronaldo, a famous season, Rhodesy wasn't there, where Ronaldo was 7 years ago, and he was something like 10 goals under his XG by October or something like that, and he still ended the season with 40 goals.
Well, something like 1 from his first 90 shots, and then went on a mad one, yeah?
Yeah. But all players go through cold spells, even the very best players. But he's still I guess the most important thing about Barts is he's still getting opportunity. He's still getting into big
he's
positions.
in.
And his
He's in the right
numbers are still
position.
solid, aren't they? His underlying numbers are still very good.
It's still very, very good. There's nothing to worry about. I mean, I think Side posted some figures about it. He always has a little bit of a and it always bounces back. So I just think he needs, like you said, he needs one to just go in. It doesn't help in this game either. I think Robbo's a chance to put a decent cross in and overhits it, and Mo's unmarked at the back post.
He was about 2 inches over his head, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's two like that in this game, and you think, just when you want a ball coming to you, he's unmarked. All he's got to do is touch it. Basically, he goes in. That'd have been perfect to get him on the go again, it'll happen. He's in the right position. He's making the right runs. He's still involved. He's still passing the ball before anyone thinks he's getting really greedy. He's not. He's still trying to create as well for others. So, yeah, it'll come. It'll come. No doubt about
that. Any other chances, Rhodesy, do you want to discuss from that first half?
Diaz missed one, didn't he?
From Naby through ball.
Yeah. But he dinked it. And it was saved again. Another good save. Yeah. Thought it was a good try to finish again.
Yeah, Naby in this game, unbelievable. It's 0.9 non-penalty goals, XG plus XA in this game. It's just an all-round performance.
Can I just say though that move starts from our centre halves playing a forced vertical pass into our front players. So the Canate and VVD, or Canate particularly, were forcing a vertical pass into our front players who popped it off into our midfield, and then one of them would play a progressive pass into the half space and the other one would then play the ball into space behind. And they did it time and time again, and that was a chance. This time it was popped into the front, it got popped off to Thiago. Thiago found Naby in the half space, and Naby just rolls it into Diaz, who I think should score, but that's how they created that chance, and they did it time and time again, and that is a rotation between midfield roles, because it didn't matter who received it of the eights, they could play the other role, if you get what I mean. So, but Naby, particularly in that first half, was finding it in the half space and just centre halves. It was lovely.
Yeah, it was. Right now, Rhodesy, one thing we do have to talk about in this match is how a single moment can make a big difference. I'm talking about just a big self-inflicted mistake out of nowhere, and it can have a transformative effect on a match, can't it?
It can. It was their first decent ball into the box, and he just missed. His footwork was poor.
Yeah. Just a bit off balance, maybe, and you just miss it. Yeah.
We're not used to doing it, but it was a up-to-defined defensive error, Dan, that led to a goal. We haven't seen many of them, especially from our defenders this season, and it gave Benfica a little bit of a impetus for about 10 minutes.
Yeah, about 10-15.
Yeah, I think they had another shot from Everton.
I think what, in my view, it shows you how even the best, most mature teams, most experienced teams can still be rattled when something isn't planned. And like the famous Mike Tyson quote, "No plan survived getting punched in the face."
Yeah.
Quote. And that's what it was. That was a punch in the face. It was just, wow, what the fuck,
But we didn't start the half well. Again, we didn't start the half well. That's the second time.
Or maybe Benfica did start it quite well as well.
Yeah, to be fair, they pressed slightly higher. But that move that led to the goal came from Trent mishitting a crossfield ball to Robbo. I mean, it came down as a classic. He comes down with snow on it, and Robbo then, rather than tries to control it, heads it first time into nowhere. They win it, nick it, play it down. Robbo's out of position, so can't chase the winger down. The ball goes in. VVD doesn't deal with it, and it goes straight through to Rubo, who's not probably expecting VVD or Robbo to deal with the cross, and he can't get his feet sorted out. But it comes from us being pressed a bit more in that first period of the second half. And Ibo rolls a ball out to Trent, and it goes over his foot for a throw-in. before that, 2 minutes before that, that is a sign that we haven't started that half well. Yeah. And then it leads to, as I said, that miss-hit cross, and it is a catalogue of errors. Yes, it's
little errors, isn't it? Little
errors that build up to the ability for them to put a ball in the box, and they put a ball in the box and it must have been the second time in the game, and they scored. And it's so avoidable.
Yeah, one of the things that we talked about on the pre-season predictions part was the need to keep errors, costly errors at a minimum, and we've done that, haven't we? Overall, this season.
Yeah. What did you have the figure? 0.5 a game.
We wanted to be below 0.5 errors per game. And how many have you got to start this?
0.2.
0.2
errors.
1 every 5 games.
Jeez.
Yeah.
And that's leading to a goal.
Yeah, according to Opta, we've got 1 error leading to a goal in the league this season, according to Opta. Everton are the worst in the league with 9. Amusingly. And we've got 6 leading to shots. So we've got a total of 7 defensive errors, which is 7 defensive errors in 30 games. It's just phenomenal. So, but Rhodesy, there used to be a time when these kind of the Canate-like howler were very common, and we used to talk about them on these podcasts a lot, didn't we? The bad old days.
Thanks to Messrs. Skirtle and Mille,
Lovren, Enrique, Glenn Johnson, Moreno.
Guy inside. Good job, the exercise not on. But yeah, that was a back 5 of errors. If you're looking at the data, it's ridiculous.
There's never been a more error-prone back 5 anywhere. Maybe some of the Arsenal teams, to be honest, as well. But compared to the current back 5,
maybe the current United side.
It's night and day, isn't it? With the current 11.
The current Everton side's going pretty close.
Yeah, Rhodesy, but yeah, those Rodgers era teams with the error-prone players versus today, it's night and day, isn't it?
It is, and I think it goes to the quality of recruitment, doesn't it, Dan? Because if you've got players who are comfortable on the ball and you know they are before they get there, rather than getting players and trying to fit them into a system that they don't quite suit, then you have a lot more success.
Yeah, Rodgers was definitely square pegs and round holes. He was exposing players' limitations, wasn't he? He was, wasn't mitigating. Yeah, it was the opposite.
The philosophy.
Yeah. So, but we do recover. What do you just for the narrative's sake, Barts, because there was so much narrative around this match, it was unreal, right? Do you say either Benfica had a good spell and then ran out of steam, we stabilised things, or the subs did it? Where do you stand on the narrative, or do you think it was a bit of all three?
I don't think the subs helped that much, to be fair. If I'm being honest, I think I just posted a periods graph I normally do away games, and there's not a lot of difference between our touches and passes. Our shots go down just after half time. Weren't getting good quality possession. But I think Benfica got their chance. They had another one, didn't they, where they broke through and a better decision. They would have created a chance, and there was the penalty shout as well. And it might have been after the subs changes, but I think they just ran out of steam. They got their goal, and rather stupidly, or I don't know whether it's stupid or just they thought they'd get another chance, they dropped off again. So they came out and they were pressing us between the two Ds as their press line. But as soon as they scored their goal, they went back to having their press line as Ben Hart, which gave us a bit more time on the ball in our half, and we could then recycle, generate. And even after the goal, you saw Fab, Thiago, and Naby step it up again and started moving their ball around and keeping it ticking over with lots of short, sharp passes to try and take Sting out. So I think it's I don't think the subs helped because Hendo came on and gave the ball away something like 4 times in the first 5 minutes. So I don't think he helped calm things down. He might eventually have helped later on, but certainly I think they got their goal, and then they kind of the tactic may have been to sit in again. It didn't happen, and then they had a chance on a counter later on in the game, which might have been their one chance to get the second goal, if you like. But by then we were sat in our ways again and got control back.
Yeah, Now, Rhodesy, there was 2 massive chances for us after we weathered the storm. And the first one was the Jota one, wasn't it, Rhodesy? I think the first big chance in the second half. 80 minutes. What was it?
Was it?
Oh no, it was the goal first, and then it was the Jota chance after that, wasn't it?
Diaz goals 32%, and the Jota one was 26. I think that's quite low.
Yeah, that was a 1-on-1. The Jota one, wasn't it, in injury time?
Yeah.
But I mean, Diaz was one of our best performers on the night, Rhodesy, wasn't he? And this was an absolutely terrific finish and terrific move, to be fair.
It was, and he could have had the one in the first half as well, which is a lovely run, and shows how difficult it must be to mark some of our players, because then he was making a run in the inside right, whereas for the goal it's the other way. We didn't have any other good chances in the second half apart from those 2. But just to comment a little bit on what Phil was saying, I think the subs worked. I think we're measuring one of the best first halves we've ever produced in European football, and then a slight bad 10 minutes, and then planned substitutes happen, and those substitutes help us then form a period of a poor 6 minutes, even though they helped continue it for maybe 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, I just think personally,
the narrative there. I couldn't understand why one developed. It wasn't as if were people saying, "Oh, those subs absolutely changed the game," and that was a
they were saying that Hendo came on to rest the game.
I think we've shown that wasn't the case. It was just a plan. We've shown the numbers.
And I disagree with both of you. And I think that it was literally a bit of a head fuck from a howler, and that was it. And
fair enough.
Yeah. So,
can I just say that the Diaz goal is exactly the same move as I just said earlier on. Centre half pops it into the forward. Bobby miscontrols it slightly, but Naby seizes on the ball and plays a free into a forward to score.
Yeah.
It's the same move. It's a vertical pass from deep after we recycle it into the front player, pops it off to a midfielder to play the through ball. It's a great goal.
And I mean, Diaz was terrific. And he knows that stadium. he really got some stick in all through the match. And what was it? Do we know what the object was that went past his head?
I swear it was a crutch, wasn't it?
Like a javelin.
It was like a walking stick, wasn't it? I thought.
So somebody was that angry that they
threw that in
to lash away their walking stick and struggle home. They were that mad with Diaz. I mean, obviously the mother of all, wasn't it? Was the pig's head, wasn't it? With Figo, I think the most gratuitous one I've ever seen. But being tossed into the away end. But yeah, that was some commitment from the Benfica fans to try and get him. But yes, and I think it's probably killed the tie. Right? Do we think fair?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just putting that last chance in because this is Jota's chance to just put in the chat. I think he rolls out left to Diaz. Diaz scores an empty. I know I'm incredibly harsh, but
that's hindsight analysis. He's got to shoot there, doesn't he? I'd expect every other one of them to shoot.
Maybe. I don't think he's made the great. I think his choice of finish is poor. I think the ball comes to him early doors, he can chip him.
Yeah.
And he can go around it. Even there, he can go around him.
I think that keeper's got a little bit of the Alisson in terms of how he closes down ones on one. He was really good.
Yeah. But no, for me, I just think I don't think Jota made the right choice to finish there. You know,
are you saying that? Are you saying that Odysseus had a heroic performance, Rhodesy?
That's a good line, though.
Yes. Anyway. Right. Anyway, it'd be interesting to see how he plays in the second leg, that's for sure. Any other business, chaps, on Benfica?
No.
Okay. In that case, we will be back on Tuesday for the big one, and we will know a lot more about our Premier League fate after that. So come on, up the fucking Reds.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at anfieldindex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.